Hey there viewers, and welcome back to Grumpy Monkey Garage, where today we're not reviewing a car, we're reviewing an engine. Okay, so it's obviously a Chrysler Dodge engine that we're going to do as our first engine review video. We're talking about the Magnum 4.7 liter V8. Now this engine was put in a lot of things. They made it very modular where they could fit it in lots of different platforms. They put it in the Rams, they put it in the Jeeps, the Grand Cherokee, the Commander, I don't think I ever saw a Liberty with it, but you know, they put it in a lot of different platforms. Dakotas, Durango, the Chrysler Aspen. I don't think I ever saw a Wrangler with a 4.7, but the 4.7 engine's in a lot of crap. They're all bad, every one of them. So I see lots of people in the comments, I think I should, you know, refer to a few here that they say they get really high mileage. They don't. So I'd love to see the Carfax on that thing. I guarantee you it's had multiple engine swaps. This truck, which we just used in our towing challenge video that I can put you a link to here if it's come out yet. I don't know which one's coming out first, but we're using this truck. This truck has had 4 engines in 220,000 miles. It's original, it was swapped once, twice, and a third time. This is the 4th engine for this truck. That is an average of around 55,000 miles an engine before they blow up. Now, the guy who owned this babied it. You can see the exterior was always clean, the interior was immaculate. He didn't even have a cracked dash, and a Dodge without a cracked dash is very impressive. The guy babied the truck. Always used full synthetic oil. You could see that in its Carfax where it had an oil change. Every 5,000 to 6,000 miles had a synthetic oil change. Still blew up 4 engines. So that's how you take care of it. Man, shut up. This is a piece of crap engine, okay? It doesn't matter how you take care of it. If you don't take care of it, they'll last even less, but even a well-maintained one just blows up. They're not good. So why am I making this video? Well, I wanted to explain all the things that are wrong with it and what you should buy instead. For instance, the Dodge Ram. I had a gold one we did a review on, a beautiful 2003 with the 5.7 Hemi engine. It doesn't have any of these issues. So if you want a Dodge Ram, you could get one and not have these problems, but these are the things to look out for. Now, anybody with access to Google can pull up any information on the 4.7s blowing up, but there are 3 really different setups of them. The first gen like this, where you only have a single row of coil packs that fire down on spark plugs. Later in around, I think 2010 or so, they switched where they would start having a second set of spark plugs down off the side, which was a little unusual, but you know, the Hemi had 2 spark plugs per cylinder, so all right then. That's the difference in the spark plugs. You could also get it with or without EGR. Now, without EGR was a little more reliable, like this one, but if you had it with an EGR, forget it. So you were gonna have trouble out of it. Actually, now that I look, even though it says it doesn't, I do see an EGR pipe on this one, so this does have EGR. In true fashion, it's junk. Anyway, lots of timing chain problems. It is overhead cam instead of being push rod like the Hemi, so you did have the camshafts under the valve covers. They had a really big problem with sludge. Now this guy did not have the sludge problem because he changed his oil on the regular, but you know the average consumer does not change their oil on the regular. A lot of car people will say, I change my oil every 5,000 miles. A regular person doesn't. I would say that as a usual customer, people typically change it every 10 to 15,000 miles is what people will really push it to. They'll come in with a half a quart of oil in their engine. They don't care. People don't care. They wait until it's really bad to bring it in. So timing problems, and those would happen randomly. The guides would just break. The sludge, it's very easy to sludge this engine up. Valve seats. If this engine gets a tiny bit over temp, for instance, if it's towing something heavy, which is what you would buy a big truck for, or if you're dogging on it, or if you put aftermarket exhaust on it to make it sound really nice and cool, those back 2 cylinders would get really hot and they would just drop their valve right on top of the piston. Now, a lot of people say, well, you have to severely overheat it for it to happen. I've seen it where it hasn't severely overheated. No blown head gasket, no other symptom other than we now have a dropped valve. So is it getting hot? Probably. I do think that's what's killing it, but I don't think it's necessarily the engine's overheating. I think it's just because the back 2 cylinders are so buried in the engine bay, particularly on the Jeeps, when they're really tight in there, they just get really hot, they cook, and they'll drop particularly exhaust valves onto the piston head. Seen it too many times, it's gotta be a common issue. If I'm a small shop and I'm seeing it that often, it's gotta be pretty widespread. Lots of head gaskets, I do think that's user error. I do see lots of them. People blow up head gaskets on these all the time. and it's a pain in the butt to get them redone, but I do see that. I do attribute that one to user error, but I've seen people overheat the Hemis and they not have this problem. So yes, it's user error, but these should hold up to their typical user. If you were a genius, you'd have bought a Tundra, so they need to know their audience better. If you're gonna be selling cars to cavemen, make it caveman proof, you know? Overall ease to work on. This is not a terrible disaster to work on if you're buying one of these for the flip game, or if you're putting one in a customer car, or if you found one really cheap, or you're starting a business and you're towing a backhoe or whatever and you just needed a truck to be able to tow it. This will do that. It will do it okay. You could change your own alternator and air conditioning pump and all that good stuff in these and not have any trouble really. They're pretty user-friendly to work on. I will say the valve covers and such are a little more difficult because they're in there, but there's definitely harder engines out there. Let's talk about some other applications. Now, we just did a tow challenge with this truck and we found out the gas mileage, which was horrendously bad. This truck driving around town and on the highway, I'm getting an average of 11 with no payload, and this toolbox is empty. We'll show you some footage of the inside of here, but there's nothing in here. So why on earth is it getting such horrible gas mileage? What's the design? And I've seen the Grand Cherokees with the 4.7 only get 14, 15 maybe with the 4.7. I don't know anything about the Dakotas with the 4.7 gas mileage because every Dakota that's come in with a 4.7, the engine's blown up, so I don't exactly get to ask those questions. I don't understand why you'd buy this. You could get the Hemi, get the same gas mileage, and get that 650 horsepower and be able to pull stuff. I'm just not seeing the appeal. Not good gas mileage, not good towing capacity. They're not really the cheapest trucks, as we saw in our review. It's cheaper to get an F-150 or an old Silverado or something than these mid-2000s Dodges because they're newer, but they're just worse. So because there's better stuff out there, I don't know why anyone is buying these. Who was the market for the 4.7? Was it supposed to be their kind of small V8? Well, if it's going to be a small V8, it's supposed to have a little power and a little good gas mileage, and it has neither. What were they trying to accomplish? I think what they were trying to accomplish was what I like to use as a demonstration would be a Swiss Army knife. Now, everyone's seen a Swiss Army knife. It might have a blade, it might have a pair of scissors, might have a nail file, might have some other options on it. You can see a picture of one here if you've never seen one before. I guess you live under a rock. If Chrysler was trying to make a Swiss Army knife of a truck to do everything with the crew cab and the shorter bed and the medium V8, I think they would have been better off just duct taping a spoon to a screwdriver. That would have been a better Swiss Army knife than this. So overall, while the cab isn't comfortable and there's lots of space and these are relatively cheap for the crew cab option, other than that, I don't know why you'd buy any of these. And I don't know why you'd go for the 4.7. If you want this configuration, just get the Hemi. You're not saving any gas with the 4.7. That's all we got time for on this review of the first engine review for Grumpy Monkey Garage. We'll see you next time. Hope you enjoyed.